pledge allegiance to the flag of Brexit Britain. And to the poverty and injustice for which it stands. One nation under end-stage capitalism. Fucked. With meaningless applause for plebs and bigotry for all. Ein white English folk. Ein imaginary right. You're an incompetent PM. Yeah, I wrote that to kind of highlight the point of what we're going to be talking about today, if you don't already know. Anyone who feels like using it, go ahead, because it's about as accurate as anything else.
I would like to quickly do an impression of our government going into this, because this is going to get heavy. Nothing to see here. We've got lovely new blue passports.
Yes, lovely new blue passports. In fact, I have one right here. Would you like to see? Lovely new blue passports. It was all worth it. So you all know I've renewed mine recently, mainly so I can get the hell out of here. I am just going to leave the trigger warning running because seriously. Okay, so for those who don't know, there is a push, and that's as much as the pun is there in the German, let's say in English, there is a push to introduce the nation's children, specifically those under the age of 7 in Key Stage 1, to an incredibly nationalistic ideal that hit Twitter today.
And anyone who's been... Go on, sorry, Noodle.
And anyone who's been following my Twitter knows what we think of that. And that's why we're here.
I think the thing as well, potentially to note going in, is that while this isn't strictly being done by the government, and people will be quick to point this out, the Department for Education is endorsing it.
Yes, they are endorsing it. And I will point out, it is being done by an Asian businessman in Bradford. Now, you all know I'm from Bradford. I make no bones about that. And the school that designed the anthem that had me kicking off is less than 2 miles away from where I live. I know people with kids who go there. It gave me serious vibes. You know, damn it, I'm a historian, believe me. I know these things. I know what I'm looking at. Let's start off with the song itself. So this song was presumably written, is being touted as being written by primary schoolers at a Bradford school. So primary schoolers, for those who don't know, are children under the age of 11. It's highly likely that these were children even younger than that. And some information that I'm going to be sharing a little bit later makes me think they're likely to be under the age of 7. And I will explain why once I get to that point. Now, I do have the words to this song, which the website shared. And this is freely available. You can go see it. You can go look at it.
I see the website in the chat.
And I am going to drop a link to the website in the chat. If anyone wants to go and explore it, I strongly suggest you hold your nose as you do so. Thank you, Sam. You beat me to it there. This is... Do you want to start, Sam, while I gather myself? Because I have a lot of thoughts on this, and they're all vying for attention.
If people want to go and listen to the small school children singing it, because that feels like it's the creepiest bit, I'll be honest, then it is. Like, you can just search in YouTube, OBON, and then any of the lyrics from this, and it'll come up on YouTube. But it genuinely... I have been saying for a while that the Pledge of Allegiance for the US sounds creepy, but this feels somehow slightly worse.
Yeah, I think this is worse because we're not used to it in Britain. That was the point I was making right at the start of this video with that little thing we read out. is the fact that this reads like the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, this is a song. I have heard less nationalistic national anthems.
Yeah,
I've also heard more honest ones.
This song feels par for the course with the people who are running it, and like I'm pretty sure Noodle wants to get into these people's mission statement in a bit as well.
Yeah. We'll be getting into the mission statement, and we'll be getting into the information they've been sending out to schools as well to involve them in this.
So the big thing with the lyrics for me is that this feels like it was written for school children the same way that everyone's World Book Day costumes were made by the children.
Yeah. Now, as I said, they are claiming that this was written and performed by St. John's CE primary school pupils, Byerley, Bradford. Byerley, as I said, is a couple of miles away from me. And there's a few things you need to know about Byerley. It's quite white.
Yeah.
C of E schools generally are quite white in the UK. I think that's a fair statement, Pat. Yeah.
My C of E high school had, out of like 600 pupils, there were probably a dozen max people of colour that I know.
Yeah. Now, I have looked up the demographics of this school. 17% of its pupils speak English as a second language. It doesn't say what their first language is. But in Bradford, just to give you an idea of the demographics of the city, 67% of the city are white. The next largest majority are Asian at something like 24%. And for the first time, I think, in the census that was just polled this year, Christians are not a majority in this city. They're at 40. Well, they're technically a majority, but they're not more than 50%. They are at 45%. So this school, any religious school at this point, I would say, is not representative of the city. Anyone who's been to this city knows that we are a very diverse city. And I will say they picked a school in the whitest part of the city, in the most white working class part of the city. I say working class when I really mean poverty stricken. And I can say it's literally in my postcode. I can say that.
Yeah.
Because I know what I see when I look out the window.
It is white. It's a very white school. It's a very Christian school.
Yeah.
I'm tangentially aware of the school itself because Church of England schools.
Yeah.
But I think the chorus that it opens with, if you read just the chorus by itself, this feels very Empire. We are Britain. We have one dream, to unite all people in one great team.
It's immediately made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It's pure propaganda. Because let me tell you something about any child from Bradford who is not white and knows for a fact that this country ain't united. I don't care how young they are. And I think some white students, if they're Jewish or if they're white but not British, are probably equally aware of that.
Oh, I'll say. I know a couple of them.
Yeah. And it starts with the false empire pride very quickly in the first verse, does this song. In the first line of the first verse, which I'm not even sure I can read out with a straight face, of our nation survived through many storms and many wars.
Bullshit.
Yeah, that's primary school history for you. Go team. You have to understand that England likes to, and I say England for a reason which I'll get into.
Yes,
likes
it's
to
not
punch
Britain.
above its weight on the world stage, and likes to use a lot of England's social and political clout comes from the fact that it's a former empire. And comes from the fact that it won't shut the fuck up about the fact that it's a former empire.
Yeah, a little bit.
This was designed to go out in schools for a One Britain, One Nation Day this week. On the same day, on the last day of school, after the Scots have already broken up, so it's not inclusive of the Scots here, so, so much for We Are Britain. And the day of the Welsh uniting anything with England that, I can't think of anything they'd unite in. Digging a hole between the two countries, giving half a chance.
Oh, I was going to say the thing they might unite in is fuck the Londoners, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, but they wouldn't be uniting with the Londoners to do that. They'd be uniting with the rest of us. And frankly, please help us, please. But yeah, so this is not this is a very thin veneer of unity painted over a broken, racist, bigoted society. And it's not a coincidence. Also, we've opened our doors and widened our island shores. Is Dr. Freud available? I'd like a word.
I feel like if we take it at face value, yeah, we fucking did Empire, remember?
Yeah, Empire, literally. The wars, widened our shores, and then, and we all know how that went. So, it's very nationalistic. It's pure propaganda, and this is what they're teaching to children. And when you understand that most people in the UK are going to be finishing school when they're 18, they're not going to go on to higher education of this kind of class, that this is targeted at, because this has been targeted at Bradford schools. Now, the school that put this out has got an Ofsted rating of outstanding. I promise you there's no majority non-white school in Bradford that's got an Ofsted rating of outstanding. I didn't even know there was a school in Bradford that had an Ofsted rating of outstanding. I was surprised to learn this.
I would like to, when we finish going through this, actually have a rant about British values.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. What my brain remembers.
Yeah. So there's a lot there's a lot in this. I want to talk about we celebrate our differences with love in our hearts.
Nope.
Would that be the differences whereby our government put out a fucked up whitewash study that claimed that there was no systematic racism in Britain? Or would that be the differences of black teenagers being shot in London and Birmingham in the last few weeks? Or would you like a word with Mark Duggan and Stephen Lawrence? Or perhaps the Liverpool 96 would also like to have a chat? Or maybe you remember the Bradford race riots?
Or potentially even just the fact that our government recently said non-binary people don't exist because if they did, laws would be complicated.
Yeah. And that's and I was just focusing on the race side of it. Sam's just brought in the gender and everything else. And we know that the TERFs are on the rise in the UK, no thanks to she who shall not be named.
Punching bag.
Yeah, the channel punching bag. And it's the biggest load of guff I think I've heard come out of Britain since the last time Boris Johnson opened his trap, which I appreciate was only probably about 2 hours before this was released, but still.
Oh dear. It
Yeah.
is bad.
And then they talk about, I want to talk about this verse too. So many different races standing in the same place, different faces moving at the same pace. Right. I appreciate it was written by primary schoolers. They were probably told to make it rhyme. But I want to talk about this whole written by primary schoolers. Primary schoolers don't write things like this. They get prompted to come up with things that sound like this.
I don't know a single primary schooler who has written any sort of song or poem or anything, especially key stage oneers, without the teacher having given them some sort of structure to work with.
And lots of prompting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this whole thing is going on the week after the anniversary of the Windrush docking in the UK. You know, the Windrush where they were so scared to dock because they thought they were going to be turned away after sailing all the way from Jamaica to come here and work. Britain likes to pretend Windrush is a great moment in British history. It is for the people who came here, for the people who were stood on the sidelines watching and throwing around all kinds of accusations.
It was politically not pretty.
Yeah, I read an article from the BBC earlier that called the response to the Windrush docking embarrassing. I think your mic's going, Sam. And that's an understatement. That's a classic British understatement. Is that embarrassing? And the next bit.
Is my mic better now?
Yeah. Different faces moving at the same place. This is a very insidious attempt to suggest that there is equality of opportunity in the UK. There is not. There is not. Be it because
literally,
accent, because you have darker skin, because you are trans or LGBT in some other way, shape, or form. Be it because you are female. Be it because you weren't born with a silver or gold spoon in your mouth. There is no equality of opportunity in this country. And I will categorically say that, and I will argue with anyone who tells me otherwise, because I know that I personally was told not to do certain things because I was too northern, too female, too not white, less than 10 years ago when I was in high school.
Yeah, I was... See, despite the fact that I am AMAB and white, there's still a bunch of bullshit that it's like, I can't do these things.
Yeah. And you can't do those things largely because you are not daddy's little rich boy, quite frankly.
A little bit.
Let's be honest, you're not some posh southerner who went to Eton and mummy and daddy paid for your university. That's not how that goes down. And everyone, you know, there's still an old boys club in the UK, no matter what they say. And this whole... Is. And then this, we celebrate, we stand together with pride in our hearts. Now, that's just pure fascism. That is just pure, this whole united forever, never apart. This is priming our children, our youngest children, our next generation who are going to come through, to be basically do not question, obey. Now, there's a saying I've heard about some Americans who say, he's such a patriot, he'll bleed to keep the flag red. That's not something to be proud of. And I don't want a generation of children raised that way.
Yeah, no, me neither. There's
a difference between patriotism and nationalism, and this well crosses the line. Patriotism is how the Germans do it now, where their patriotism is looking out for the poorest in their society, paying their taxes, educating their children, and questioning their politicians. This ain't patriotism, this is nationalism.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that a lot of the phrasings are very, and this is me coming back a second to the fact that I do not believe for a second the primary schoolers wrote this.
Not for a second.
Because much as I'm not like going to try and underestimate the ability of some people in primary school, they're not going to know certain common turns of phrase like pride in our hearts.
They're not, no. They're never going to know. Now, it is football season, so this whole one great team thing, I can almost say they've probably picked it up somewhere.
Probably. I mean, this is the one time where I'm not going to complain about the fact that there's a bunch of English flags up my street.
Yeah, no, it is the one time of year, like every 4 years or whatever it is, where you can look and you don't assume the person flying an English flag is a racist. Which, we're a nation of football lovers, even though I can't stand the game myself.
Nope.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Two people who can complain about football right here.
Oh, yeah. So the whole thing, now I want to talk about this outro, which gave me flashbacks to Theresa May. I'm sure we all remember strong and stable, strong and stable, strong and stable. It gave me such flashbacks to that. But also it just gave me flashbacks to every fascist, nationalist anthem, motto and speech ever made. If you repeat the lie often enough, it becomes a truth. Now, they are encouraging young children to sing this song. They've even got a tune to it. Again, you can see it on that website we shared earlier. It's creepy. It sounds like it basically sounds like the child chorus in every horror movie ever made.
Oh, see now I'm just thinking about that one thing from Doctor Who. Tick tock goes the clock.
Are you my mummy? It's that.
Whenever I see a gas mask, there's an impulse. There's an impulse whenever I see a gas mask to put it to my face and go, "Are you my mummy?" to my nose.
Yes. Stephen Moffat traumatized a generation. We know. It's now they've been very clever. There's no mention of royalty. There's no mention explicitly of empire, but there doesn't need to be.
I was half expecting a. And I think I said
God
this to
save the Queen at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's now one nation is a very loaded term, and I'm glad Scum has brought this up in the chat. We had one nation Labour under Ed Miliband, but we've also had one nation conservatism since Disraeli. And it's not. Just seriously, go Google it. It's not the most loving and unifying political ideology I've ever come across. It was designed to appeal to working class people in the same way, a free chocolate bar is designed to appeal to a 4-year-old. It's one nation conservatism for my money and for my personal opinion. It appeals to working class people in the same way you can probably convince a turkey to sing a Christmas carol if you give it a sprout first.
See, here is the thing. Is that this actually, I have a really long history of politics rant here, but I'm going to try and shorten it down to the origin of modern conservatism was middle and upper lower class people trying to maintain the scrap of power they had, and that's where it came about from.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to leave it there because otherwise I will rant for like 10 minutes.
They're basically the stooges of the elites, who think they are the elites and want to brainwash the rest of us into believing that they're on our side. Because apparently us plebs are so thick we fall for that shit. And apparently we did at the last election, but let's not go there.
I mean, in feudalism, it did make sense. Have someone bigger to point the finger at.
Yeah, look, I am going to say it as well. Hands up, disclaimer. You all know I voted out for Brexit, but I didn't vote for this. And this is a symptom of Brexit. It is. And make no mistake, this is a symptom of what happens when you let Tories run Brexit.
I'll be honest, I think Brexit needed to wait another 10 years until it was semi-stable.
But we were strong and stable.
Oh, we laugh because if we don't, we cry.
We'll cry. But yeah, that's the song. Now that's what immediately got my goat, and I think, yes, Sam in the chat, Gio Sam, nice to see you. It does seem like it could be hypnotic if sung in the right way. It did give me Christian Catholic school song vibes, you know.
Yeah.
It's you can imagine it's quite catchy for young kids to be singing it.
Yeah, see, the fact, I would like to touch on the fact that the outro is just Strong Britain, Great Nation, like 4 times.
Yeah, it's very
like we
strong,
don't have to go
Britain,
through it all.
Nation. It is. It's just it's the Cyberman, isn't it? Strong Britain, great nation. Strong Britain, great nation. And it is really. It feels like you're half expecting to see the kids goose step off the stage after they finish singing it. That's the mental image I've got.
Oh, there's a reason that the EDL's flag was part of the thumbnail for this.
Yeah, I will point out as well. Fuck the EDL. Burn it.
Yeah.
If you ever see that flag anywhere with the shield
burn it with fire
and the fuckery cross on it, burn it. That's what that was. But this is where the country's going, and that's why that thumbnail was there. Now, that's the gut instinct reaction that we've given over half an hour to.
Also, I'd like to point out that Britain is in fact one state, not one nation.
Yeah, we are not one nation. Wales and Scotland are their own nations. I think Northern Ireland is as well.
Yeah.
But let's not go down the island. That's a whole nother stream.
Troubles.
That's a very troublesome stream that I'm not going to host because
you like your channel.
Lane. Not my lane. Suffice to say, I am of the opinion that any country that wants sovereignty should be allowed to have it, and that's why I voted out for Brexit. But good luck convincing the British government, who, you know, wanted Brexit, however much they claimed otherwise, that Ireland should also have the same. But yeah, as Scummer has just said in the chat, let's not go down that rabbit hole. We may get caught by a fox. Yeah, we may get caught by a fox if we go down that rabbit hole. Now, you wanted to go through this mission statement, didn't you, Sam?
Can I touch on British values first? Because they are referenced in this, I think.
Yeah, because there's something I want to say as well. British values. I've got a friend who works in education, who was aware that I was doing this stream when I spoke to them earlier, and told me that a few weeks ago, the suggestion came down in British primary schools to begin to teach British values to children. Most teachers in the school this person works in didn't see the problem with that until it was pointed out how nationalistic this entire thing was. So this is something that is being pushed hard in schools, and it's being pushed quietly. And the fact that it's being pushed at schools is an entire... It's just insidious.
It didn't really get pushed until I was in year 10 or 11 a few years ago that they should push these British values. And it was like, that seems sus, because these values are mediocre to shit, with maybe an exception.
They are vague as hell as well.
I was going to say, actually, on the face of them, they all look okay.
Yeah.
But when you look at what they mean by those, and when Mia's just asked in the chat what are British values, that's why I said I want to go through them first, because they're then going to be referenced.
Yeah.
So there are 4 British values.
Yeah.
The first one being democracy, defined as a culture built upon freedom and equality where everyone is aware of their rights and responsibilities. Which is not what democracy actually is.
No.
But that is the first British value labelled as democracy. The second British value is the rule of law. The need for rules to make a happy, safe, and secure environment to live and work. If it had been something like justice, fair play, but the rule of law
is not justice.
How many times have we had people who were just following the law, or just following?
I was just following orders, officer. Yeah, just following orders, Your Honour.
Then there's individual liberty, protection of your rights and the rights of others around you.
I feel like those two conflict.
A little bit. Now, this is the one that I think probably isn't too bad.
Go on.
And then there is mutual respect and tolerance of different faiths and beliefs. Understanding that we all don't share the same beliefs and values, respecting those values, ideas, and beliefs of others while not imposing our own onto them.
It wouldn't be too bad if it wasn't a dog whistle for letting TERFs get away with all their bullshit.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, is that that is a dog whistle for so much for the tolerant left.
Yeah, that's what that is. It's a dog whistle. It's also a dog whistle, and I don't like to say it, but there is a section of Muslim society in the UK that is extreme, as there is with any religious group in the UK. And a lot of these religious groups, Muslims, there's a Jewish one, there's, definitely an extreme Christian fringe in the UK. All of them like to say, oh, but you must tolerate our beliefs.
See, so if I was to then parse out what each of them means as I'm reading them, you should know your rights and responsibilities and assume you are free and equal. You should follow the law, whatever the law is. You have rights. And you should tolerate whatever anybody else believes and values.
Those are all very contradictory. The last time I read a list that contradictory, I was finding out whether I'm an anti-Semite.
I was going to go with, I was reading the Book of Discordianism. Hilarious, by the way.
For those who don't know, there's a IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which is I can't read it sober, let's put it that way. It's amusing at the very least.
It would define me as an anti-Semite purely and simply because I criticize at some point the Israeli government.
And me, for the same reason. But also, you're not allowed to conflate Jews with the Israeli government, even though the list does it, because if you do that, you're an anti-Semite. So the list itself, by its own definition, is anti-Semitic. It's a really fun read. I suggest you have a good look at it.
Have a read, but don't think too hard about it.
Yeah, so Geo-Sam wants to know what makes these 4 values strictly British. Colonialism and imperialism.
Yeah, pretty much. It's defined as British values because the government said so.
Because the government said so. See Rule 2.
Yep.
They are... What's the word I'm looking for? This entire thing is... My main concern with it, honestly, if they were aiming this at older teenagers, I probably wouldn't be as concerned because older teenagers would just roll their eyes and say, whatever.
Like, when it hit us in year 10, we were all kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, what do you want? Like, they tried to bring in, Cameron tried to bring in something called National Community Service. Service for the community. Which was basically a non-militarized version of national service for 16-year-olds. But they had to pay to do it. And it was basically making them do community service during their summer holiday.
So, do you want to know a thing? NCS is still happening, the National Citizenship Service now.
That's the one.
And so it's 3 weeks. The first week is basically camping and them teaching you to do shit like BMXing and canoeing. And also making you sleep in what felt really like military camps. Genuinely. The tents were like, it was like 8 bunk beds in a big tent with a dirt floor.
See, you're saying military camps, and I'm getting visions of a different kind of camp entirely, but let's not go there.
Yes. The food was better than those camps, even if it was shit.
Better than which kind of camps?
Take your pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, then the second week was planning community service, and the third week was doing community service. So our community service was, we had to clear out and paint and decorate and repot a bunch of shit in the garden of an old folks home.
Because God forbid they actually pay a local business to do that and get the economy thriving.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't old folks home. Sorry, it was I think it was like a thing for older disabled people specifically.
I reiterate, God forbid they pay someone to do that.
And God forbid they pay someone to do what we did and teach these people how to like paint plant pots and shit. But hey, I got
to me that just sounds like,
out of it.
Yeah, this just sounds like using teenagers as free slave labor for 3 weeks. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That's what it sounds like.
I would argue for
the first week doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, the first week doesn't sound too bad. It sounds like summer camp.
It's just uncomfortable.
But summer camps usually are.
Yeah.
I have serious concerns about the timing of this. Because there are quite a few things that have happened over the last week or so.
Oh boy, yes.
So what we've had today, was it yesterday or today? The news broke that the government is pushing to privatise, so basically let one of their buddies buy out one of the last bastions of free speech in the UK, which is Channel 4.
Channel 4.
An actual proper journalism, investigative journalism.
Yeah, Channel 4 is one of the very few remaining ones that I'm like, I heard it on Channel 4, I will tolerate that that's probably accurate-ish.
It's probably accurate, and it's probably something the government doesn't want me to know about. If it's journalism, now I'm not going to sit here and claim that Gogglebox or anything else that's on Channel 4 is... It's got to find funding for the investigative journalism somehow. Let's just leave it at that. The thing is, Channel 4 is already a private enterprise. Channel 4 is run by adverts. It's funded by adverts.
Yep.
So them talking about privatising it basically means that one of their buddies wants to buy it out because it's already a private enterprise.
That's what that always means, though, because when they privatized the rail and bus services, that's what happened there too. And I happen to know about this because my granddad was involved with some transport industry shit.
Mm-hmm. I also want to share something else that was brought about recently. The Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill 2021. Protest powers. Basically, by the time they're finished, protesting is going to be illegal in this country, even peacefully. And this is the government website. You can see it there. Again, I will drop the link in the chat for you for anyone who wants to go and read it on their own time. Protests are an important part of our vibrant and tolerant democracy. Same wording again. Do you see how I don't believe these kids weren't prompted? And under human rights law, we have the right to gather.
But these rights are not absolute rights. Why does that sound Why does that sound like code for these rights only exist so long as they don't make us uncomfortable?
They're not rights, they're privileges that you earn. They're privileges that the upper classes will decide whether you're allowed or not.
I'm sure Jeff has opinions here too.
Sure, Jeff has an opinion on this.
I've seen the way police have acted on protests in the past. Yeah, of course it's a essential part of our freedom and stuff. That
police do not strike the right balance on every occasion. Can I just point out, if we want to talk about the police striking the right balance on every occasion, let's talk about what they did at Orgreave.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the fact that the police in this country have a reputation where if you go on a protest, you will be held against your will in breach of your human rights for hours at a time, regardless of any disabilities or other illnesses you may have, without even access to a toilet, and that is considered normal in this country.
Yes.
Usually held in the open air in terrible weather, because it's England.
Yes, there's a lot of,
Yep.
That's called kettling.
A lot of students back in 2011 who had to piss in bottles on because they were kettled on Westminster Bridge for like 8 hours.
Yeah.
The fact that we have a name for it. Oh, the fact that we have a name for it means it must probably be at least as prominent as something like dogging, which concerns me.
Yes, but dogging's consensual, so that doesn't concern me as much.
Oh no, I'm fine with dogging, but the fact that this is more common than dogging bothers me.
I was going to say something when you were talking about we're talking about, should we say, certain kind of camps, which we won't mention, but we could talk about them because after all, they're a great British invention, aren't they? So
they go all the way back to, was it the Boer War or was it the Crimea?
But it's all right. According to Jacob Rees-Mogg, it was a humanitarian thing, just to
it was a humanitarian attempt. They were just refugee camps.
People.
Yeah. Take a look at they were called concentration camps in the Crimea. I know they were. I know for definite. Maybe in the Boer as well. And they were basically...
The Boer is definitely... Yeah, the Boer definitely.
Yeah. The modern equivalent is probably the camp at Calais. The refugee camp at Calais is probably the modern equivalent of what it would have looked like.
So during the Second Boer War, they were referred to as concentration camps.
Yes.
Yeah, they were. But they were claimed to be refugee camps, but there was no sanitation. There was very little by way of provision for safety or actual provisions provided to the refugees there. It was kind of just... It's only right...
It was only right near the end of the Boer War that anything got done about the conditions in the camps. And it was actually... So I forget the name of the woman now, but it was a woman who went out there. She'd been a suffragette, and she looked at the conditions of the camp and made like a report which finally made the government take note of what the fuck was the British armed forces were doing out there.
Yeah, she did. That's the war that gave us Mary Seacole and Florence Nightingale as well. So,
Nightingale was the Crimea.
Nightingale was Crimea. Yeah.
You know how we have English and maths as mandatory subjects? Can we make history a mandatory subject, please?
What do you think I'm doing here? I'm trying.
Well, I know, but it's more of a comment that I didn't personally do history.
We know GCSE. Here's the problem, though, Sam. While we're having this conversation, they made that. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to make history a mandatory subject. What kind of fucking history do you think they're going to be teaching kids?
Exactly.
If
what we should be doing is making critical thinking a mandatory subject, and then showing history.
Logic and Philosophy 101 would be... if that could replace PSHE, I would take that.
PSHE wasn't anything anyway.
I know.
We just sat and just messed around in PSHE.
Fuck about.
I mean, look, I mean, I can think back, because this is... A lot of this shit is nothing new. It really isn't. And I can think back to, should we say, her history lessons I got in primary school, which were all about the how wonderful, brilliant and altruistic the British Empire was. I mean, and there's definitely no discussion of strapping sepoys to cannons and blowing them up. That sort of thing was left out. The slave trade was left out.
It wasn't appropriate for the little ones, but it's perfectly appropriate to tell them how their mummies and daddies marched into India and made it better from the savages.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, that was. I acknowledge that was a kettle of fish. It was more of a. I get really frustrated at the fact that very few people paid attention to my history teacher, who tried to drill into us. Learn from history, please.
See, the thing is about history, and I can say this as a history graduate, those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it, but those who are doomed to watch.
This is...
and I just... It's quite hurtful how many government officials have history degrees. And,
do they? I just thought they did.
Blair was a history graduate.
Ouch.
And most of them went to Cambridge and did PPE, which is politics, philosophy, and economics. But you've got to have history in that as well. Cambridge and Oxford over that subject.
There's always been a lot of people noted people who've had degrees in history, especially within the Conservative Party. I mean, but in Labour as well. But
history in the classics is one, isn't it? Because it's very elitist. However much we try, but it is very elitist.
Also, Oxbridge isn't racist at all. There's no whitewashing happens there.
Can I point out I turned down an offer from Cambridge because it was too white when I went on a visit?
That's why I brought that up.
I went on a visit when I was 16. When I was 18, I went for a week. I came home. I'd gone down there and the tutor had said to me, email me when you're ready to apply and I'll make sure to talk to the dean for you. Basically, the offer's there. I said to my parents, I'm not applying. I don't want to go.
Now, see, I ended up...
point blank. I said, I don't want to live down there. It's too white.
I ended up through a series of events not ending up getting the grades anyway because thanks government. But I decided I didn't want to go to I didn't want to do Oxbridge when I looked and saw how middle class they were.
They're not they're upper class. To me, they're upper class. So I don't know what they are to you.
I'll be honest. I say middle class from the perspective that I am used to, like family who run businesses and shit, and they are really upper class. But even their lower class is middle class, and I was looking at it like I'm going in with a disadvantage here in that they put on so much work you can't afford to really get a part-time job unless you're doing unless you effectively have a cleaner or some shit already.
Yeah, no, this was the thing. When I went down to Cambridge and said, I'm going to need a part-time job, they said, you can't work and study here at the same time. You'll fail if you do. They told me that outright.
Yeah,
so that to me tells me that there's nothing there to say, well, how the hell am I supposed to pay to eat and sleep and,
they assume your parents are going to help you because you can afford to go there. And they don't even give you extra money like they do if you're going to London.
Yeah. And they are expensive places to live because it's Oxbridge.
Yeah. So I feel like that rant was worth having to kind of point out the fact that, like, we know there is discrimination in even academia.
There is. Look, you all know why I'm into the classics. I studied a classics degree before moving on and everything else. You all know I talk classics on Twitter. There is discrimination in the classics. You can see it, and there's a lot of bigotry in the classics. And there is a small core group of classicists who are, give them all their due, fighting back. But the classics is very white. Very white. Even the bits that aren't racist is very white. There's a reason Tories love it as a subject, and Boris Johnson thinks he's clever because he could recite the Iliad.
Yeah, they definitely see that as the sort of the private preserve of the gammon, really,
Yeah,
I don't like.
And I will not apologize. And if anyone says I will not apologize for calling them the gammon either. I don't care.
No, they're not the gammon.
Some
Listen,
people,
the people
you
we're
know.
talking about when we talk about Tories, we're talking about people who are so elite. They're the ones who fuck the gammon, or at least David Cameron was, allegedly.
Allegedly.
But allegedly, because I don't want to be sued because these people are rich and I can't afford to fight them.
Fair.
But, you know, allegedly. But yeah, so this police crime and sentencing courts bill that you're looking at here, that basically makes it impossible to protest peacefully. This One Nation, One Britain thing. And what else was it that happened? Yeah, the Channel 4 thing have all happened in the space of about a fortnight. For those who aren't British, a fortnight is about 2 weeks.
And
but we're also busy arguing over Meghan's baby name that no one's noticed.
Oh, and also people throwing hissy fits that there's no food in the supermarkets because people are panic buying now that we've entered Brexit and we're not having a massive amount of replenishment. Because in fairness, some supermarkets are having a lack of stock, others are not, and even the ones where it's not, there's noticeably less things on the shelves. And I don't know if that's just because there's now less people there who are being hired because Brexit, or if it's because there's less stock in because Brexit. And I can't decide which.
See, I haven't noticed any reduction in availability. I've noticed a massive increase in prices over the last 12 months. My shopping bills trebled in the last 12 months. But I haven't noticed a reduction in availability, if you can afford it. But,
fair.
You know, I've stopped shopping at Asda because it's so expensive. I'm now a loyal Aldi customer. So I should tell you everything, really.
Aldi is actually... I was going to say, we always used to go to Aldi if we wanted stuff on the way back from college or whatever.
Yeah. I kind of want Netto to reappear because that's the price bracket I'm in right now. Which is probably before your time, Sam.
I am vaguely aware of what that is, the same way I'm vaguely aware of what Woolworths was.
So Netto was the poor man's Lidl.
It really was it really was the absolute cheapest.
It was the cheapest of the cheap and nasty.
And
but,
probably,
you know, it was food.
Probably stuff that was very, very, very close to going out of date or something like that, or you know. But you know, people shop there.
To explain it to you, Sam, you didn't shop there if you had a choice, and the only reason you didn't have a choice is if you were on benefits. That was the level we're talking about.
There was one near me, but it's an bloody Asda now. So
there was one near me. It's a Farm Foods now.
Yeah.
I find it really funny how many of my relatives are like Morrison's or Tesco.
Yeah, no. There's a company store in my city now, and a company store, for those who aren't aware, and I will drag us back on topic in a minute. But a company store is basically a discount store of short-dated and slight seconds that cater solely to people on welfare or who work in the public sector because their wages are so low.
It's specifically
one
rather
step
than
up
public
from a
sector.
food bank. Yeah.
Rather than public sector, it's specifically emergency services.
Yeah.
Like my stepdad, now that he's stopped being a paramedic and has gone working in PIP assessment, has lost access to company shop.
Company shop, yeah. Which is irritating. And there's one open in Bradford now as well.
Yeah.
And they don't open where there ain't call for it. So take that as you will.
Yep. So
now,
go on, sorry, Noodle.
This is the context all of this is happening in. So these kids are being taught that British values is to obey the law while this shit's being pushed through. These kids are being taught that they have rights while Channel 4, which is the only channel that still tells them what their rights are and what their government are doing, is potentially being defunded and bought out by some rich prick.
The other thing is, for example,
considering half... Sorry, I was going to say that, but again, considering that, around just a little over 100 years ago, half of our population had to bloody break the law just to get the right to fucking vote, that being women, you know.
Yep.
And that's white women. That's not even, and that's white landowning women. That's not regular women.
Now, see, here's the other thing: is the kids this is being taught to won't remember the Brexit vote.
Yeah, this is how young they are. This is what we're saying. The Brexit vote was 5 years ago. I know for a fact, I've got a friend, okay, who has a 7-year-old. And the 7-year-old has friends who are 6-year-olds, which is year 2 and 3 in the UK. Year 2, for the last few weeks, have been getting homework about British values, these so-called British values. But year 3 haven't. And the year 3 child said, and I quote my friend, no, we haven't been doing that. It sounds funny. Now, because it's my friends, they're teaching their kids to fill in the homework, talking about how terrible the Tories are and how we need to fund welfare. But that's because it's my friends. But this is going on nationally. This isn't just going on in Bradford where it originated. This is a national thing.
I think I slightly derailed us from talking about these guys' mission statement as well.
Yeah. So we're going to get to that now. That's why I brought it back to it. I'm going to bring it up now. Yeah.
I was going to say, do you want to read them out, or shall I, or what?
We can go through them one at a time, I think. Now, to me, okay, first of all, that bottom picture there is definitely Bradford Town Hall. These are all Bradford students, apparently. Now, these photographs are very carefully staged. You can tell. You can tell these are staged.
Also, that bottom picture feels like everyone in there is probably as close to middle class as you're going to get.
In Bradford, definitely. Also, that uniform is a secondary school uniform and it's an academy in Bradford. I recognise that uniform. This is all very staged. And I'm just showing you the website so you get an idea. These are the students who, you know, this is the age group of...
If I might say, that amount of flags makes me uncomfortable.
That amount of flags would make me uncomfortable at a football match. I just, there is no call for that amount of flags anywhere, especially in Bradford City Centre. That's right outside the town hall where people get married.
I get we're in football times, but still.
Yes, I'm also concerned about the fact that they've deliberately positioned, shall we say, ethnically ambiguous children with these flags right at the front of the photograph.
Yep.
That's deliberate.
But
yeah,
and I see very few people in here that I can look at and go, this person is definitely like a person of colour. There are some, but there are very few of them.
Most of these are probably Pakistani or Indian descent in Bradford, because that's where most of our demographic comes from. So these are probably, I don't like, I'm sorry, I'm going to zoom in because I'm uncomfortable having images of children on the page, just because of, you know, this is an adult channel at the end of the day. So I'm going to try and avoid that as best I can. I'm going to leave it there. Because, you know, I don't know who these kids are. They could be anyone, and it's not fair. It's not their fault. They're being used as propaganda machines.
I would like to preface reading these out with all of these feel like if they're not just very, very badly worded, they are ominous and dodgy. Dodgy as fuck.
There's just something I want to point out. Sewing, I've been to America, and yes, the amount of flags is scary. I've been to a military city, like a city that serves a military base in America. It's terrifying. I had a major freak out in the middle of a street. Ask Ring.
That's kind of what these people have been wanted for years. Is like, though, isn't it? For everyone to have flags out like they do in America, you know. That's kind of what they almost aspire.
There is
to see.
One of their stated goals is to quote reclaim the British flag.
Oh. Reclaim from who? It was never ours to bloody begin with.
Exactly. You know, St. George was was he Persian or Palestinian?
Palestinian, yeah.
Palestinian,
yeah,
one or the other.
Palestinian.
My dyslexic brain mixing the two names up. Yeah. So we've got the first one. To promote the concept of responsible citizenship, to instill a sense of personal pride in all our citizens of being British, and create a real sense of collective identity regardless of one's background. Assimilate or die, bitch. That's what that translates to me as.
See, here is the thing: is I know Noodle's familiar with Sherlock. Magnuson. This feels like Magnuson.
Yeah, it's insidious and it's.
It feels very much like a be placated.
Yeah. It's. Look, as someone whose mixed race comes from a very, very culturally diverse background in the UK, I am very proud of that. I'm not proud of being British. I might travel on a British passport. I'm not particularly proud of it. Because I know what Britain is and what Britain has stood for historically and what it continues to stand for to this day. And I'm not proud of that.
Yep.
I am proud of the people in my family who gave everything to get here, to potentially try and find somewhere safe to live. I am proud of the fact that they survived getting here and not finding that safety. And so to tell me that part of responsible citizenship is to assimilate to being British and to disregard my background in favour of being British, or that's what you're telling children with a very similar background to me, because don't forget, this is my city this originated in. This is assimilation through the back door. This is forced assimilation through the back door. I do not give it the credit of being. It's not trying to be welcoming. It's dragging them in.
And if I don't want to take away from the race aspect, but I will bring up non-binary aspect of this again, in that being a responsible citizen includes not being non-binary at this point.
Yeah, because apparently we make the law confusing for the rich people. So
this is literally saying that they want to stop us existing.
Well, we knew that. That's why we have turfs all over the shop.
Oh yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, we did know it. So, to facilitate, inspire, and strengthen the spirit of inclusion and involvement and social responsibility in our communities, and in an effort to promote peaceful, respectful coexistence in citizens who will play a more active part in the well-being of our nation.
Our great nation.
I'll just confirm something Ox put in the chat. Yes, the cross that was on the Confederate battle flag was based on the St. Andrew's cross that the Scots have, yeah.
Yeah.
It was based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to parse out what I just read, to make people exist in the same space and to make everyone appear to accept everyone else, no matter what their views or positions are.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Yeah. It's very much, while on the face of it, it might sometimes, this might come across as like, if I was to be super, super charitable here, I could say that what they're trying to get at is that we all exist in the same society, and so we should try and get on and get to a point of peace. But what this reads as is, don't rock the boat.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Don't rock the boat. Scummer, do you want to do the next one?
I can bear. Like, I'm on my phone right now, so let me
Cool.
try and find
I'll
the
read
web.
it out, then you can comment.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll tell you what. I'll find the website that you're on. Okay, and I'll get it up on my tablet or something for in a minute. But if you do this one now, yeah.
Yep, so to instill a sense of pride and self-esteem in our youth and to nurture their beliefs with positive experiences and valuable role models for them to become responsible citizens and aspire to play an important role in the life of our nation. First of all, haven't you people heard of fucking commas?
I know, right?
I gotta just say,
I
yeah,
just
but
inserted
perhaps
commas where they fit.
if you want to actually, get people to assimilate to, being British, perhaps at least fucking get the actual language we speak in this country right on your own fucking website.
I mean, Jesus, Grammarly's free. Grammarly is free. It would not have taken.
The fact that they have to instill a sense of and youth in the same sentence bothers me.
Especially as I'm sure these people would definitely would the people behind this would very much like, shall we say, certain minorities to not speak their native tongues or whatever when they're here and speak English.
The thing is, this was all started off by an Asian fella in Bradford, a businessman. So to me, it just looks like a tax dodge anyway. Can I say that? Am I legally allowed to say that? Fuck it, I said it now.
I don't know, but I would agree with you. I would agree with you.
It looks like a tax dodge to me. This is where my council tax is going. Ugh.
We should all
potholes in the road.
He should be accepting of your difference in opinion.
Yeah, he should do. That's what he wants, isn't it? So yeah, and this whole thing of I want to know who these role models are. Who are these role models that they're supposed to be looking up to? Because a role model can be a lot of any different kind of people.
Well, I found the website, and the first bloody face that's popped up is fucking Joanna Lumley. Is she supposed to be one of our role models we're supposed to be looking up to?
Apparently so, yeah.
Yeah, I did wonder, but I don't know enough about her personally to be able to.
I don't have massive issues with her. I got no massive issues with her, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I think she's spouting crap here. I mean, I will give her due. She was absolutely right. See, she was absolutely right to stand up for the rights of the Gurkha soldiers. Yeah, who
absolutely.
And who obviously serve in our armed forces, but were told a few years ago, yeah, but you can't come and live here though. So on that respect,
the people on Windrush as well. A lot of the men who came over on the Windrush trip were actually former British service personnel who'd gone back to Jamaica because they couldn't make a life in the UK, and they were still afraid they were going to be turned away when they docked.
Yeah. See, Will brought this. I don't think Will was here at the start, but Will said, "How about acknowledging people like the Windrush generation rant over?"
Yeah, no. The Windrush Day was last week. So this timing is insidious as all hell.
I don't want to feel like I'm pressing this too much, but the fact that this sentence starts with "to instill a sense of" and includes the word youth bothers me.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just read what the next one is, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So let's scroll down and have a look, so you can go off on this one, Scummer.
Yeah.
Do you want to read it out, or shall I, Jeff?
Oh, what this one? Right. Okay. This is to encourage to encourage the involvement of all our community in raising Britain's economy through prosperity born from passion and pride in the nation. So don't go out and fucking strike it. Don't go out and fucking strike or nothing, or join unions or anything. That
that sounds anti-union.
Yeah, that's very anti-union.
That not only sounds anti-union, but also ableist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very. And passion and pride in the nation being the reason to do it. So if you go out on strike, or are we going back to the enemy within? Is that what this is leading to here?
You still get that. I mean, you still get that.
That's what Maggie called union members,
She called that, in specific reference to the coal miners specifically. Yeah. But that mentality has never quite gone away from any of the political classes, including, I've got to say, the fucking Labour Party, because they have been absolutely, historically, they have been absolutely fucking disgusting when it's come to actually supporting. Considering where they're fucking.
The more I look at Labour, the more I'm convinced they're right wing.
They are right wing.
They have been. They have been for a long time.
Not to sound excessively communist, but when I look back at what people say they were like 20 years ago being better, that still looks pretty right wing to me.
Yeah, everything everything after Blair is definitely at least centre right.
Yeah, I mean.
Until Corbyn. Brown, I think, was a little bit centre left, but didn't really have the opportunity because of other things going on.
I could go off on a long tirade about the history of the Labour Party, but there just isn't time. But they've always been at the best you can say about them was when it's really come to the crunch is that they've been fucking cowards. That's the best you can say about them.
Yeah, I want to talk about this next one now.
I'd like to take a moment to remind people that while this is not our government saying this is a group our government is endorsing and that we are funding with taxpayer money.
Yeah.
This is all being taxpayer funded.
The next one being to recognize, acknowledge, and sorry, Noodle.
Go for it.
What was that?
Go and read it.
To recognize, acknowledge, and value our diverse communities and their cultural heritage, while aiming to facilitate and harness their integration into mainstream Britain.
Okay, who's they first of all? Because that's not clarified. Who's
our
they?
diverse communities?
Yeah, diverse communities. Yeah, I promise you I'm more British than most of the people in that photograph, even though I say I'm not.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to pretend I'm not, but I am the most English.
I do love the beautiful irony of apologies for how I'm going to word this. You know, I don't mean it maliciously towards you personally, but your pasty ass white person face reading that.
I know. Like I will be the first to say white people are awful sometimes.
It's again, this is more assimilation, isn't it? It's more forced assimilation. It's there is one kind of British, and yes, you can be proud of where you came from, but this is who you are. You will obey.
Well, not only that, but not to sound this might sound silly if people don't follow my train of logic here. It's colonialist, explicitly.
It is explicitly colonialist because they're basically taking minorities and saying you must behave like the white majority. Yes.
Oh, by the way, Noodle, Mia is whiter than me. Mia is correct in chat.
Yeah. Hi, Mia.
But there's and because it might not be super clear to people who don't have like a super functional definition of colonialism. Colonialism includes when a larger culture takes from a smaller culture. And what this is saying is we want to force you to give us your culture.
Yeah, basically. And we want to force you to obey our culture, which at this point just seems like contagious.
Yeah. And the other thing with that is that like it assumes, yeah, pretty much nerdy, pretty much. It feels a bit like I
want to point out a beautiful irony to you, a bit of local information. That bottom photograph on those steps, opposite where that photograph is taken, is a fish and chip shop and a Nando's.
Excellent.
And a Starbucks. That's they literally go fish and chip shop, Nando's, British pub, Starbucks, library. Tiny little library in the corner. That's what that street
the library. Like. The library is the most British thing about that.
No, because the library is this tiny. Well, yeah, actually, it is because it's this tiny little thing, the size of a walking Starbucks coffee shop. That's so small, you get more than 10 people in there, and you'd be breaching social distancing rules.
Yeah. By the way, quick historical point: public libraries, those things that certain Tory MPs opposed because they didn't like the idea of yoiks becoming too educated.
Bradford's public library used to go across 7 floors. It's now 2 floors in a tiny little shop complex on a city square.
There's.
Right.
See,
I'm going to let Sam do this one because Sam pointed this next one out to me.
To enhance our image of our nation, both nationally and internationally.
Our image, not our reality.
This is the image.
Our image.
Yeah,
just the image.
The image. It says not at, but to enhance the image of our nation, both nationally and internationally. Like, what the fuck does that even mean, really? You know?
Basically, it's freely admitting that the goal of this is to get kids to buy into the propaganda and then share it themselves.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's an admission of this is pure propaganda.
I forget what it specifically is, but I'm sure there's various different dystopian worlds built around the premise that people think they're living in a good space.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, I just started reading.
There are so many quotes out of 1984 I could have said there, and none of them are coming to me. We are at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with East Asia. Big Brother loves us.
There's just so much of it.
There's a lot of it, and that's just 1984. That's way too easy. But let's have a look at this. Okay, so that's that organisation's mission statement. Let's have a look at their aims.
Let's look at their aims.
Yeah. To provide an organisation or body through which all citizens of Great Britain can openly declare, demonstrate and celebrate their passion, pride and allegiance towards our nation.
Why the fuck do you even... I mean, to be honest, given how, given how, by and large, most people in this country are pretty goddamn patriotic anyway, why the fuck do you even need any kind of organisation to plug this shit? Other than,
Actually, there is a reason for that, actually. Do you know who the least patriotic demographic are?
White people?
Gen Z. Gen Z is the least patriotic demographic.
So basically, they've seen Gen Z and then they've got the next generation coming through and they're trying to get them early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for me, this is just... I should also point out as well, there's an element of performance to this whole thing. This was brought up by an Asian businessman in Bradford. There is a lot of pressure on Asians in Bradford. And when we say Asians, we mean people who hail from the Middle East, India, Pakistan, we don't mean Far East Asians like the Americans do. We mean the Middle East. That's what we mean in Britain when we say Asians. Because I know there's a discussion there. There's a disparity there. There is a lot of pressure on them to conform and to prove their Britishness and their patriotism.
Especially
because there is still the pressure and the perception that, and I hate that Muslim means terrorist.
And the Asian means
and we're
Muslim.
Talking about people that hail from Muslim and Islamic nations, largely. We're also talking about Indians and other areas as well, but we're talking about that geographic area. And there is real pressure to perform Britishness. I know, I live with it. I am expected to perform Britishness to an extent, but I say screw that and I perform Yorkshireness instead because I actually believe in it.
Yorkshireness is better.
Yeah, Yorkshireness is better. Yorkshire. I will absolutely.
That's people from Yorkshire, they think they're better at everything.
We are better than everything.
Joke, yeah.
We've got the last Olympic results to prove it.
Yeah.
Like, as someone whose family is mostly Yorkshire, can I claim I'm culturally Yorkshire? Is that a thing I can do?
Yeah, you know what? We're such a welcoming and loving community here in Yorkshire. You're more than welcome, lovey.
I'll take that. In fact, in fairness, actually, one of the places I want to move to is in Yorkshire. So,
yeah, fair. So yeah, this is what they're doing. They basically want Ministry of Nationalism, Department of Nationalism, but privatised.
Yeah,
is basically how that reads to me. And so they want to work with mainstream organisations to collectively promote the concept of good citizenship, fairness, respect for all, and to embrace a shared future with a strong and true sense of belonging for all our people. On the surface, that's fine. I have no argument with that on the surface. In conjunction with everything else we are looking at, to me, that's just makes it basically reads like trying to indoctrinate people into a cult, make them feel
it feels like it feels like trying to standardize it as well. And can I read out the next one, by the way, Noodle? I really
go for it. Yeah.
To promote, rejoice, and celebrate the success of our people under the common and collective identity of being British.
Rejoice. Well, first of all, we ain't all Christian. Because in Bradford, we're only 45% Christian, so do one. Because I ain't one of them. Second of all, yeah, this is what happens. See, when Scottish people do something cool, they're British.
Yeah, didn't I say something? Didn't I say something about that earlier?
It's the Andy Murray syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. He was until he got knocked out of Wimbledon, and then he was that bloody Scottish git every year. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and then he was Scottish. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually specifically, I remember one of my friends is very proud of the fact that he's half Scottish, and whenever he does anything, he goes out of his way to say that's the Scottish in me. The English side of me can fuck off.
Yeah, no, what I love as well, there's a lot of Scottish people, and it is a bit of a joke that all these famous people who are Scottish, they love Scotland, they do anything for Scotland except live there.
Yeah.
Cough,
so
Sean Connery.
Yeah, exactly, Sean Connery. So it does go that way, but
see, this is why they don't identity. Because this is what they're not going to like. They're not going to like places where you got the certain parts of Scotland and Scottish nationalism is still a thing. The Scottish National Party is still very much a big thing. You know, Plaid Cymru is a thing in Wales. I mean, okay, we said we less we say about Northern Ireland, the better. You know, how the fuck are you going to get all these?
Sinn Féin's a thing. Scottish nationalism's a thing. Even Yorkshire republicanism's a thing. Yorkshire, there's been a small core group trying to break Yorkshire away from London for decades.
Yeah, look at the Isle of Man. Look at Isle of Man, Channel Islands.
There's many groups trying to get.
I don't think they exist. I don't think they exist anymore. But there used to be something called, I think it was called the Vectis Liberation Party or something. That was a group of Isle of Wight separatists. Not kidding you. That existed.
See, there is actually a group trying to push for Northumbria to be a thing again, and for the north of England to become its own separate thing.
I know there's a party for Mercia as well.
Mm. And honestly, I think Yorkshire would be better off if it's separated. If someone put a ballot in front of me now and said Yorkshire to govern itself, fund itself, and control itself, everything north of, say, Sheffield, to break away from the rest of the country, I'd like to see the rest of the country cope without most of Yorkshire, to be honest.
I'll be honest, I think that the Northumbria thing, I would like to say that I would vote for those people, but they're also conservatives.
Yeah, that's
what I mean. You can't leave me down here if Wessex becomes a thing again, because we know the kind of fucking people that live down here.
Yeah, this is the thing, though. This entire point is missing. This to me reads like it's written by someone who doesn't understand what it is to be British, because we don't have British pride, we have regional pride.
It feels like it's written by a middle class person who was raised in a private school.
Yeah, that's what it reads.
I mean,
like.
I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny. He should know that he should know if he's from fucking Bradford, he should know that there's a bit of a rivalry with Leeds, which is just up the road.
Exactly.
You know?
You fucking should.
And Manchester, which is just over the mountains.
Yeah. I mean, you come down here, Southampton and Portsmouth, it's the same shit.
Yeah. The phrases Bradford lad and Bradford lass carry weight for a reason.
Yeah. And a Bradford lass is not the same as a Yorkshire lass. Very similar, but not the same.
Yeah.
I tend to go by Yorkshire lass because it carries less threat that I'm going to stick a knife in you, because I'm not. But Bradford lass kind of does potentially insinuate that.
Right, where were we onto this?
So where we are, to reach out to all sections of the community through mass engagement in an effort to win their confidence and support to implement the vision and values shared of our organisation. Does that sentence make sense?
To try and pass it a minute.
So I mean, essentially, this organisation
not
here.
Grammatically correct, is it?
This is but what this pisses me off. This off here. Shared values of our organisation. These fuckers get to determine what being British is. Fuck you.
Are they trying to?
Yeah, they can fuck off.
Who gave them the right?
Yeah.
There's a great expression in Yorkshire. I don't know if it travels elsewhere. Who died and made you boss?
Oh, yeah. Who died and made you boss, or who died and made you queen, or something like that.
Yeah. And that's
again,
what is going on
here,
which is, it's basically a challenge of who the hell do you think you are?
So to try and
I'll read the next one out in a minute?
Yeah, I want to read the next one out, because this is just
okay. I'll try to get, and I will try to get.
Hang on, let Sam finish.
If I was to try and pass this last one out, to try and work out what it's trying to say, what it seems to be trying to get at, I think, is to go to bits of the community and reach out to them in an effort to when it says win their confidence and support, that feels so performative.
It feels like missionaries, but within the UK.
But it's performative specifically because winning someone's confidence, when that is your goal,
what are you actually doing for them? That's for you, not for them. It's missionary. That's what it is. And we all know that being missionary. Do you know what it is? It's the last line of a Catholic Mass. I don't know if Christians say it as well. When the priest stands and says, "Now go in peace to love and serve." But basically what it's saying is go out there and spread the propaganda. That's what it means.
Yes, spread the good word.
Yeah, go spread the good word. Go share the gospels.
Be a good little Jesus clone.
Yeah, be a good little automat and do as you're told and repeat ad nauseum, etc.
Right, I'm going to read this one out. This next one out.
Wait, Scummer, can we see your face to see if you can manage it with a straight one?
I'm on my phone. Give me a second.
I want to see whether Scummer can read this and keep a straight face.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I'm going to say something. I read this a minute ago and I threw up in my mouth a little bit when I read it. To reappropriate the flag of Great Britain so it represents all people of good conscience in order to promote and celebrate our common and collective identity. Where is it? There's the camera. There. That's what I've got to say to you. Fuck off. Fuck off.
Yeah. The British flag was, and always will be racist. We make allowances during football season because it's football season. But frankly, I am relieved every time. I'm relieved every time England gets knocked out.
We don't even fly this is the thing though. We fly all the the English and Scottish flag. We don't fly the fucking Union flag at these things.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that when it says the flag of Great Britain, it means the Union flag, which like while that's the less racist flag, it's still racist.
Also,
it's still the flag we subjugated half the fucking world under.
Yeah, and I'm just looking as well at the flags on that image. Are they being flown as if they're at sea there? They look weird.
I'd have to double check that actually. That's an excellent question.
Sorry.
I was always under the impression that the Union flag, it's uneven, isn't it? They shouldn't go at the same, they shouldn't join up. But it is very oh no, it's right. It's left corner is at the bottom. Yeah, no, it's right. But this tells you how little we care about our flag that I don't even know what mine looks like properly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, I cut out for a second there, guys.
Ox, I love you, but I do need to correct you.
I disagree.
Here. In all seriousness, the blood on the American flag is what they've wrung out of one corner of the Union flag. It is the equivalent. The Union flag is dripping with it.
When you look at the British Empire and the shit we did.
And I would also like to point out, okay, outside of football season, if someone flies that flag or the English flag, or really any national flag that's not Scottish or Welsh in the UK, except for Paddy's Day when the Irish fly theirs, they're a racist. Yeah. You cannot fly that flag in the UK on a day-to-day basis and not be considered a racist because the racists own it. And that's what this is getting at. It wants to reappropriate it from the racists.
Yeah.
The problem is the racists own it because it is racist.
The other thing is that some context for people from outside the UK, if you go to touristy areas, you'll find the Union flag on things. If we see you walking around with a lighter with a Union flag on it, we know you're a foreigner.
Yeah, we assume you're a tourist. If you're walking around wearing the Union flag, it's not football season. You've got to be a tourist.
If you're wearing an outfit with the Union flag on, you're either a tourist or a member of the Spice Girls.
Yeah. Like hell, even if like you're just holding something with a Union flag on it, unless there's a specific occasion that we know about, we're going to assume that you're a tourist or had no other option.
Yeah, like I went down to London and a bunch of my clothes got ruined on the journey because travel issues. I had to walk into a London shop and buy a load of t-shirts with London splashed across the front and red buses and stuff on it. You've probably seen me on streams wearing them. I don't go outside wearing them.
Fair.
I just don't.
You can't.
First of all, I'm northern. I couldn't live that
in your area. You could not go outside wearing those.
Yeah. Second of all, no one is looking at me, hearing my accent. They will assume I am some kind of English nationalist if I wear those things. They will go. Which probably makes me safer where I live, quite frankly.
Just like wait, EDL.
See, the thing is, this is the thing. We've had this shit this argument has fucking been going around for a long time about reclaiming the flag, reclaiming identity. I mean, I remember going back 10, 15 years ago, Billy Bragg, of all people, started this whole, he was going on about this progressive patriotism, reclaim the flag, and it's disappoint me because like Billy, you should know fucking better than that, you know. But
I think the other thing is that the people saying we should reappropriate it from racists are kind of at the very least covertly a bit racist themselves.
Yeah, because why would you want it?
See
Give me
their
one good
entire
reason I should want to fly that flag.
also see their entire mission statement. This group's mission statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will just point out as well this last one: to encourage and facilitate the existence of a national day to celebrate and promote a sense of national solidarity, allegiance, and respect for our great nation and its people to enhance the image of our nation. Yes, we have that. Okay, we have that. That is the finals of every football tournament when we go out on penalties.
Yeah, pretty
we
much.
Have that.
I am again half surprised that there is no and to reinstate the monarchy across half the planet.
Yeah, I will also point out we do have St. George's Day, but it's not a bank holiday. But they're talking about making
it's not. Yeah, and here's the thing. Now, I'm actually of the opinion we should have. I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with them in St. George's Day because I just think we should have some more bank holidays anyway. But this is the thing: they want these people. They want to make St. George's Day a bank holiday in England, and then get rid of the May Day one. And as far as I'm concerned, fuck off with that. And you know why? You know why they want to get rid of May Day.
Yes, because it promotes the rights of the workers.
Because it's International Workers' Day. They don't want. I mean, and I know that's not the origin of May Day because obviously it goes back to stuff like Beltane Festival and all sorts. But that's what reason they don't fucking like it is it's because it's International Workers' Day.
See, they still separately celebrate Beltane in Scotland.
Can I just point out something in specific in this point?
Yes, please. It's bugging me. Yes. I was like, do I say? Is Noodle gonna say?
Our great nation capitalized Ein Reich. That's how that reads to me. This is just Ein Volk, Ein Reich, Ein Führer. That's what this is.
You know when I said it's either very bad wording or dog whistles?
It's dog whistles. All the children in that photograph are white. It's dog whistles. How did they manage to find that many white children in Bradford?
I'm laughing because you're right, I am. And this is...
There is literally only one postcode in the whole of Bradford where you can find that many white children in one place. And I say that as someone who is very proud of that fact.
Jesus Christ, I'm having a look at some of the testimonials of some of the fucking people that are supporting this shit.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get in there.
Yeah, we will. Oh, God. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Also, what's the betting every single person who backs this organisation is Christian?
No, actually, you'd be surprised.
No, there's a couple of Sikhs and Muslims in there. But they're all... well, they're not poor, let's put it that way. None of these people are representative of Bradford. Professor the Lord Patel of Bradford. Who the fuck's this dude?
Excuse me?
Who the fuck is this dude? I've never heard of it. Who the fuck is it?
Let me Google him.
Professor the Lord Patel of Bradford. That title should not exist. Bradford, no.
So,
OBEs and Deputy Chief Constable.
So,
Chief Executives.
Kamlesh Patel is Baron Patel of Bradford, member of the House of Lords.
The Right Honourable. How many of these people have ever lived in
Malcolm
Bradford?
Rickens, is that Tosser still around?
Look how many
Norman Tebbit. Fucking hell, Norman Tebbit.
There's some names
Margaret
here.
Is there anyone here who wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth? This guy, maybe.
The Right Honourable Lord Steele. Yeah.
The right,
Oh, there's
Lord Carlisle,
so
Baroness Scott.
The Right Honourable, These people have never been to Bradford in their lives. What the hell's the Bishop of Leicester doing in Bradford? Is he bringing the King back up to be buried where he should be, up in York? Let's get that sorted out first, shall we?
Leicester.
Yeah, the Baroness. Let me tell you something about Bradford. Bradford has some of the poorest population in the country. These people are not representative of what this city is. These people are not representative of Bradford.
Right at the end here, you've got Chief Executive of the British Wrestling Association.
I'm sorry, powerboat GP. Bradford is so far inland. The only way you go further inland from Bradford is if you start digging. What the hell have powerboats got to do with Bradford? Yeah.
Oh.
I just
I apologize for how much I'm cackling here. As I said at the start, I laugh so I don't cry.
Yeah, and you have just, and congratulations, you have just been exposed to a hissy fit.
So yeah,
that's one of your milder hissy fits. I got to
say,
that's just that's not Bradford. That is not representative of Bradford.
That wouldn't even represent my part of the fucking world.
Could you pull up Pops's? Could you pull up Hop's question from the chat?
Yes, it's true.
Yeah,
it is absolutely true.
The one above that, I was meaning, but that too.
Which one are we looking at? That one?
That one that you've just pulled up, yeah.
Yeah, Norman Tebbit. Scummer, do you want to explain who Norman Tebbit is?
Yeah.
Well, I get
Norman Tebbit Norman Tebbit was a minister in Margaret Thatcher's government, and was known for. I'm trying to remember which privatisation it was he steered through. I think it might have been British Telecom. I can't remember, but whichever one it was, he ended up on the board of directors of it at some point. But he's also in the TV show Spitting Image. He was characterized as like a soccer hooligan, because he was Thatcher. He was like Thatcher's bloody pit bull, go and get shit done kind of guy.
Right. None of these
nasty
people,
piece of work.
None of these people who you've just seen me scroll through on there look like anyone I know or am around. And I don't mean racially. I don't mean, gender or anything else. I just mean the average person in Bradford is earning less than 25,000 a year. If they
could not have afforded those suits.
They couldn't afford those suits, never mind those titles. 20% of the population of Bradford speaks English as a second language. They are first-generation immigrants. Okay, they are not the kind of people who are right honourable and OBE and CBE. They're the kind of people who don't get those kind of titles because the Queen doesn't want to see how dark their skin is in person. Okay, the Queen doesn't know people like the people in Bradford exist. We are so far below royal notice.
Okay. I didn't realize.
We are the kind of people that the Queen shoos away and tells us that we shouldn't have left the kitchen. We are not good enough to kiss the Queen's shoes. Never mind have OBEs and CBEs and all the rest of it. This is a very working class, very poor, very diverse city. So true. We are not the kind of people who get titles like that. It's false, and I don't believe for a second that any of those people on that list know shit about what it is to be from Bradford.
To be fair, you like, let's put it this way: you guys don't even give yourselves titles like that in D&D games.
Exactly. If you tried to give me a title like OBE or CBE, I'd tell you to go fuck yourself because I'm not the Queen's stooge. We are not royalists around here. We just aren't.
I
feel like
if you travel,
there goes my chance of getting on. I associate with Noodle. There goes my chance of getting on the New Year's honours list once again.
Yeah, there it goes. No, but seriously, if you travel in 1 mile of any direction of where I live, I am the most highly educated person. And that includes my local fucking doctor's office. Because it's more than a mile away, because they don't have doctor's offices where I live. We have to travel out because otherwise books go through the window.
I am familiar with the area Noodle lives in, and there is no hyperbole here.
To point out, the area I live in is where that school that came up with that fuckery song at the start is, as well. So this whole thing is false. It's pure propaganda. I live in the kind of area, I don't go out after dark where I live. I am not white enough to go out after dark where I live without a dog. Where I live, even the dogs, if the police come down here, they walk around in pairs. If they come down here.
You'd want a German Shepherd or two if you were going to walk around your area.
I grew up with a German Shepherd, and sometimes it wasn't enough, I promise.
Yeah.
My dad now has a Doberman. You know. And, yeah. Routinely, cars get stolen off driveways, tyres go missing. Like, they'll literally be... You know the joke about people from Liverpool stealing car tyres?
Yeah.
The joke where I live in BD4, which is where that school is also based, is we'd have the wheels off a plane if it flew too low. That's the joke. Seriously. You don't walk around, you don't go out round here if you've got gold teeth, they'll have your head. Unless you're a known face, you do not go out round here. I grew up round here, so I kind of fit. But that's the only reason.
I have
all this is false.
I have walked through some of the roughest areas in Greater Manchester, dressed in what looked like drag, that was loosely fitting, and not given a shit. Okay, I would be terrified to do the same where Noodle lives.
Let me put it this way. If I go out after dark, I take off my wedding ring and my watch so I'm not robbed for them. And I put them in my pocket. That's the kind of area I live in. So this whole thing about unity, and this is coming from Bradford, and these kids are proud of where they're from. No, they're not. It's all bullshit. I know more drug dealers than I do teachers. And that's just because they're my neighbours and that's who they happen to be. You know? Around where I live, you keep your head down and your mouth shut. Every week so far, every Sunday for the last 4 Sundays, the police have been in the block of flats I live in, kicking someone's door in.
Yeah. Mind you, I'd still sooner have them as fucking neighbours than some of the people on this testimonials list.
Oh yeah, because at least the drug dealers and thieves around here are honest about what they are.
Yeah, I was going to say, drug dealers, if you're willing to at least not rob from them, generally leave you be.
Yeah. At least they're honest about what they are. But I want to talk about this. Now, this is this company. And I am going to call them a company, although I'll be surprised if they don't have charitable status. This is their campaign for this year. And I want to talk about this.
Is this
OBON wants to see every child develop a strong emotional and meaningful connection with our country and its people by recognising that we are all one people with a role to play in the life of our nation, where everyone must feel safe, happy and valued. Well, what if I fucking don't? What if I'm not some white, cisgender, middle-class prick who is perfectly safe where I live and whose mummy and daddy own their own home, and I don't feel happy, safe and valued in this country? What then? What are they going to do? It's so... And this is what... We need the support of your school to celebrate the day.
Sorry, I just read something a bit further down.
As a must, please encourage your child to clap for a minute to recognise, embrace, and pay tribute to people who were helped during COVID-19.
That's what I just saw. Now, now, listen. We were doing that our fucking selves before. We don't need these fucking assholes, and I don't think kids do not need these fucking assholes.
Yeah.
To tell them why to teach them why care workers are fucking deserving of our thanks.
Yeah, Ox, the cops don't come where I live unless they're coming in pairs and they've been called. And we don't call them. We go see the local mafia if we've got a problem. We go see the local traveller mafia if we've got a problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, in your area, police don't get called. But by the way, these guys are a non-profit humanitarian effort, is their official status.
For now. It's a tax dodge. They're waiting for charitable status to come through. I'll put money on it.
Yeah, don't put money
I
on
say
them,
I put money on it, i.e., it's a statement of opinion. Don't try and sue me. Okay, but this sing things you must do to take part. Do the applause and sing that song. You must sing that song. Go fuck yourselves. Every child in this country has the right to refuse to engage in any religious, political, or otherwise nationalistic propaganda at any time they like, and their parents have the right to refuse to allow them to engage. It is important that we fight for that right and we maintain that right and we let people know they can do that. Parents in this country have still got the right to pull their kids out of sex ed, have still got the right to pull their kids out of religious studies classes, out of politics classes, out of any damn lesson they please, and give no reason whatsoever.
I'll tell you what, if I had a kid who was in one of the schools that was promoting this shit, I'd pull them out on the basis of that alone.
If I had a kid, I'd be pulling them out of this. They'd be being homeschooled. They'd be shit at maths for the rest of their lives because I am, but they'd know the history and they'd know the truth of the
Noodle,
history.
you can always send them my way.
We'll start up our own school and call it an academy. It's what everyone else does, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll get some oil company to support us.
That works. That'll do.
Yeah.
I thought we just went to McDonald's to get like the school meals, you know, to cook the school meals for us. I think that's how they work.
It'd probably be better for us than what goes into school meals these days. And I just, this whole thing, this is why I want it, because I needed to get all this out because this drove me crazy.
Yes.
This is not representative of Bradford. If you're seeing this, they're going to make a big deal out of the fact that it's someone from Bradford who did this, because Bradford is known almost worldwide as a very culturally diverse city, and it gives this whole thing a veneer of respectability that it absolutely does not deserve.
Yeah, it's a
just
very
because it's an Asian man running it and they've got a couple of Asian kids in the pictures does not mean that this is right, and does not mean that this is not racist dog whistles. And we have a new guest in the pictures.
We do.
Does not mean that this is right. Do you mind muting your YouTube, Mia, please? Dog whistles.
Oh,
and we have a new guest.
Sorry, I don't.
Does not mean.
There we go.
Yeah,
that can go away now.
Sorry about the technical difficulties, folks. Please hold.
First time doing that. Sorry.
Yeah. As Ulk said, we don't even call the police. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Mia. Welcome to the channel.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, Mia's first stream away from my channel, I think.
Hello. You are more than welcome. If Sam invited you, I trust Sam's judgment. Let's give you a few moments to introduce yourself, state your opinions on this.
It is BS, and I will fight people on that.
You don't have to fight me. I'll be stood right alongside with you, fighting with you.
Yeah.
Go.
I think Mia is already of the opinion that you are good people, Noodle.
That's good for me, you know. I take people as I find them. As long as they're all right, I'm all right.
I'd say you've made a very good first impression there.
I should hope so. I hope so. And I think
Mia
you've made a good first impression on me that you said that. So yeah.
Yeah.
All of this, any specific thoughts or feelings?
I just think it's wrong, given that we're a country entirely based on immigration. Like, we can't provide for ourselves. That's why our entire borders aren't closed, like every other country that's solely an island, like Australia and New Zealand. But no, we need imports to survive. So why are we trying to act all high and mighty against everyone else when we depend on them?
There's a reason the British Empire spread so far. It's because it needed to.
Our British icon of drinking tea is imported. Our sugar is imported.
Yes. Our booze is imported.
Curry is definitely not English.
Nope.
Even fish and chips, even our fish nowadays is not from English waters.
I mean, like, hell, being the most English person on the fucking planet, Like my surname is derived from a Greek surname.
There you go.
Even though my surname is actually, I'm so English. My surname is derived from a place name in England.
Yeah, that says it all. No, nerdy, Colma's not English. I'm sorry.
Oh.
To be fair, neither's fish and chips. Chips are not English.
Nope.
My surname's Welsh in origin. I've got English parents, but I was born in Scotland. So how's that for a bit of a mix?
Nothing more English than a good theft.
Yeah, language, culture, land, people, money, resources. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, if it's British, it's stolen.
Yeah, especially if it's English.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the Scots at least have some castles that they built.
Yeah. And this is okay, can I just point something out? I've just clicked on their news thing, and this is from last year's Armistice Day. Every school in the country holds a 2-minute silence on Armistice Day. They don't need to be told to. They really don't need to be told to.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! I mean, I'm older than all of you. We were doing 2-minute silence on Armistice Day at school when I was at school. And yeah.
So, Noodle. This is obviously for in a minute, but I think we should look at the CEO and founder because the first paragraph of his page tells us everything.
Oh, now I'm curious.
My high school dragged us out no matter the weather to list off all of the locals who were sent away and our 2-minute silence.
Yeah.
And
so you've got the big writing, but then that smaller writing.
Yeah.
In his professional capacity, he was a senior police officer in the rank of inspector with the West Yorkshire Police. In 2 decades of police service, he has gained much experience in working with people from all backgrounds. In 2006, he was nominated to lead the most challenging and sensitive area of Manningham in Bradford. In 1995 and 2001, this area saw riots which were described as the worst disorder ever witnessed in mainland Britain.
Yeah, do you know what those riots were about? They were
Precisely.
race riots.
I was about to say, once you know what those riots are, which I do, that tells you who we're dealing with.
And I remember the 2001 race riots. The other ones were a bit early for me, but I remember the 2001 race riots. They were not pretty. The upper globe has never reopened. Let's put it that way. There are pictures you can see of mounted police in the city centre coming after people with batons. The city, I think, I personally don't believe the city ever recovered. Because they were part of a wider pattern of racial tension going crazy in 2001. And I know what a lot of people are going to be thinking, but they actually happened before 9/11. Which is why it always confuses me and amuses me when Americans say they didn't see 9/11 coming. Because anyone who knew anything about race relations in 2001 saw something like that coming. There'd been riots earlier in the year in other cities as well. And it started because the Anti-Nazi League organised a rally in the city centre. Then National Front sympathisers gathered at a local pub, and outside the pub an Asian man was stabbed, and then all hell broke loose, basically. That's the official story. It's several pubs were firebombed. There was a lot of arson going off. It was nasty. They targeted a BMW dealership. Don't ask me why they targeted a BMW dealership, but apparently, and I'm looking at the documentation here. 300 police officers were hurt during the riot. There were 297 arrests. 187 people were charged with the offence of riot. 45 with violent disorder, and 200 jail sentences, totaling 604 years, were handed down. The last rioter was sentenced 6.5 years after the events. Estimated damage was 7 million. Now, if there's anything you should have gathered about Bradford, the whole of Bradford is not worth 7 million.
Yeah, a little bit.
So how the hell they did 7 million worth of damage? Those beamers must have been expensive.
I don't know, maybe they just had a lot of expensive booze in or something.
That probably explains the fires. I just, yeah.
Yeah.
And there are no figures for how many people were hurt that weren't police.
Yeah, not to go all ACAB on everyone's asses, but
yeah, ACAB.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
The quote at the bottom of this page is one of my favourite and most ridiculous things. If a police officer's name is widely known in the general public, then it's a safe bet to say he or she is performing very well or very badly. In the case of the guy signing, his name definitely stands for excellence.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Right, I will tell you now, if I go back about 10, 15 years ago, the most famous cop in Britain was the chief constable of North Wales, a guy called Richard Brunstrom. And let's just say this guy was not famous for doing a fucking good job.
Yeah.
I don't know of a single police officer who's famous for doing a good job. Like, I think the closest you might get is
he was known for being a fucking moron.
Yeah. Coppers aren't known for doing a good job. The only famous copper I've ever heard of in Bradford was that one who was shot. Sandra, I want to say Beshinevsky or something. I can't remember. She was shot in the early 2000s. Sharon Beshinevsky, yeah. She was killed in 2005. And, fair play, she was shot doing a job. But, no. Also, can I just point out, yes, he's working with people from all backgrounds, but he's also nominated to lead the most challenging and sensitive area of Manningham in Bradford. I went to school in Manningham in that era. I literally travelled across the city to Manningham to go to school there. Because it was a Catholic school and that's where my parents wanted me to be, and it was the best education you could get without paying for it. Although it was still poor by Ofsted standards. Manningham has a reputation in Bradford. It's not a good reputation. It has a reputation of being the centre of gang warfare, of violence. If you've ever heard any of these terrible stereotypes about Asian gangs and what they do to white girls, the stereotype is that they're from Manningham. That hasn't changed, so I don't know what he thinks he did when he was in Manningham, but nothing's changed. So
no.
yeah,
he describes in this page that I presume he has written his dedicated service as exemplary.
I presume he wrote that.
I genuinely presume he wrote this page straight up.
No normal person wrote it. He personally engaged and addressed 13,500 people. All that means is that he went to the Bradford Mailer and stood on the stage and waved. That's all that means. More than that, go to the Bradford Mailer when it was on. You know, it's
that's like me. That's like me saying I've addressed 250,000 people because I had a megaphone on a fucking demo march once.
Yeah, that's basically how that translates. And to be honest, I've never heard of the guy. So if he's known for excellence, I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, the police are not particularly known in your area.
I think perhaps you ought to do some you ought to do some interviews in your area, Noodle, and see if anyone's got any opinions about this guy, if they've even heard of him at all.
To be fair, in my area, I wouldn't do interviews because I'd be the one getting all the racist insults, and I don't want anyone to witness what I go through on a day-to-day basis around here. But exemplary service in the police force basically means you didn't kill anyone. That's all that means. Now, I know that's difficult for Americans, but in Britain, where they don't have guns, unless they're armed police, it's kind of easy.
In fairness, Noodle, in fairness to them, it isn't just don't kill anybody. It's don't kill anybody and don't piss off the family, I mean higher-ups.
Yeah. It's do as you're told. Head down, mouth shut, and you'll have your promotion.
Yeah. But just like the ambulance service, the police is a family business. Just putting that out there.
Definitely. It's like, you know how Americans talk about, I'm in the army because my daddy was in the army and my uncle was. It's that.
Well, it's not just that. It's the fact that most of the higher-ups are related or family friends.
Yeah, because it's an old boys network. You don't get promoted unless you're in the right family in the police.
Yeah, and in the ambulance service too, and I'm pretty sure in the fire service, but the fire service is better.
Listen, I don't care who you are. If you can physically lift a human being and carry them out of a burning building, and you want to be in the fire service, go for it. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to argue with you when my house is on fire if I need to get out. But let's not talk about places being on fire and people of colour because, then I'll start going on about Grenfell and then we'll get really pissed off.
Boy, yeah. That's probably a segue we don't want to go down.
No, not right now.
I think we could all go on a rant about that.
Yeah. And I should point out in Manningham, prostitution is rife in Manningham. Always has been. And I don't mean prostitution as in these women are trying to make a living for themselves, because I am very sex worker positive. I mean prostitution as in teenage girls are being picked up from outside their school by their pimps and driven to the red light district to go work in an evening. That's what I'm, you know. And I've got friends who were doing that when I was at school, at my school. So that was in Manningham. I don't go to Manningham. I just don't. If Nigel Farage wants to talk about no-go areas, Manningham's a no-go area, but it's a no-go area for everyone who values having their head on their shoulders. It's, you know, we're always expecting gangs and things around Manningham, but then we're always expecting gangs and things around most of Bradford.
Now, see, I'm going to make a comment here, and this is going to out me for quite how middle class of people I'm surrounded by. Is that when I was in high school, I straight up used the line, well, by the technical definition, there are no gangs in the UK.
Yeah.
Which, in fairness, is true. It's just also dumb.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Because, yeah. But I will say, this man claims that he has a career of excellence. The existence of Bradford as it exists right now disproves that.
Yeah. See, I was going to say, I get the impression most of the people who have spoken about this and who have given testimonials and shit are probably from the same place I was, and that's why I brought that up. Because Me and Yumi when I was a twat. Let's put it that way.
We had to train them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, let's be.
Excuse me? Like I said, I don't know who this guy is. I think that white guy in there might be like my old school headmaster, but don't quote me because the picture's too small.
Fair.
I just
felt like that was a page you had to see.
Yeah, no, this whole thing is very.
Should we look at their contact us page?
I am utterly yes. Let's have a look at their contact us page. God forbid that. No, they're not going to put an address or a phone number on here. They'll get the Windows brick through.
Why do I get a feeling that their Twitter account could be an interesting? Not that I'd give them a follow, but I think it could be an interesting one to look at sometime.
Wacky World of Twitter.
Yeah, it's due to make a comeback at some point. I think it has to.
Ooh, I know. Let's have a look. I want to see that. Did I just see the EGL flag at the start of that?
Hold on.
Nearly that. No, Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland. It's a Northern Ireland flag.
Okay, good.
Okay, that school uniform there that they're wearing, you know, the girl who's wearing the kilt, that school is just off Wakefield Road. It's an academy that used to be the Bradford City Community College. It was taken over as an academy because it was failing utterly. And basically they privatised it to try and save it. It's not. The only success in it is it's just not. This is the tweet that made me start this stream, by the way. The Department of Education, there you go, you see, endorsing this.
Well, that's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and blame Gavin. I think it's Gavin Williamson, otherwise known as Gavin the Gremlin.
And they're not being shy about the fact that they've been endorsed either. Look at who they're tagging, though, to talk about it. The Daily Express, BBC News, and the Bradford TNA.
Not biased at all.
No. He's an MP. Gavin Williamson backing him.
Yeah.
Gavin Williamson talking about him.
Yeah, he leads the Department of Education.
Oh. Obviously, my apologies for anything you see here that's triggering. I'm just scrolling Twitter, so. But obviously, we're not the only ones who've seen through this.
Oh, Noodle, that picture that I sent you earlier, I don't know if that's safe to share.
Yeah.
I sent Noodle something similar to that image there earlier, but it was more of a Conservatives flag peeling away to reveal the other one.
Yeah. Look at this. One Nation, One Britain's menu. Halal roast chicken, halal chicken tikka, Mexican corn chicken burrito, corn bolognese. Great that they're being inclusive in the menu, by the way. Love the fact that they're doing that. But
see, I see no vegan option there. Maybe I'm just being blind.
Vegan option. No, the corn bolognese. No, garlic bread assorted. So you could that's probably the vegan option, the corn bolognese. I
was going to say usually they have vegan in brackets next to it, but they might just be bad at this.
None of these things are actually British. What these
are
meals that you can get from local takeaways.
Look at this thing. I look at their list of events. There's archives. The last bloody thing updated was 2019.
Mm.
And that's because they had a bloody Tory MP visiting Bradford.
And Green Lane Primary School, Year 3, practicing shout. Year 3 is 7-year-olds. This is who they're targeting. Yeah. Carlton Academy Trust. Red, white, and blue will be the colours of the season.
See, and see that they've been around a lot longer than this group's been around a lot longer than I realised. Actually, I mean, I knew they've been out for a couple of years, but
Have you noticed how they're targeting primary schools? They're targeting primary schools and poor, low education secondary schools.
Yeah, because they know vast majority. I mean, primary schools is where they're going the age group where they're going to make an impact and get probably.
Where the kids are going to buy into it.
They figure they're going to get less resistance from primary school children. Because let's be honest,
and if they're offering resources, the poor school's obviously going to take it because they need pens and pencils and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. These images. This is ridiculous. Look at the age of these kids.
Well, that's disgusting to me. I mean, this is the joke. They're not even flying. They're not actually flying the Union flag. They're flying the fucking flag of this organisation in all these pictures.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not to sound offensive or anything to anyone, but in all of these pictures I've seen, both watching and now, it's literally the token black kid in every picture.
Yeah. No, it's true. Look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, all of these are just photo ops. I wouldn't be surprised if half of these were taken on the same day.
Yeah, they're all photo ops. Flagship school status.
Oh, no.
Look. I want to know how they got into the Bradford Bulls ground. No, that's the Bradford City ground, is that? I was going to say, because the Bulls ground's being shut. Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know where the Bulls play anymore. I don't even because
they play over in Dewsbury.
Oh, I know they knocked Odsall Stadium down, didn't they, sir?
Yeah.
Old Speedway Stadium, sir.
Yeah, and look how they're advertising their sponsors.
Yeah.
This is all a tax dodging and money making scheme. Look at it.
Yeah. I don't think it's all that. I think it's also propaganda.
Look at this audience. It's all white people. I know that guy. He's a local businessman. That guy and that guy, they're local businessmen. They're not poor. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love how you just have the Asian table.
None of these people.
Do we want to talk about this?
Burn it.
Oh, there's so much wrong with that.
The one thing I'm surprised at so far is there's no donation button. Beckfoot and Heaton, and they found a black kid. Really? Eastwood Community School. Look at all the names of these schools. They're all community schools, academies.
They also have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, they do, and they've got the kids, but I don't want to think because we'll probably get cut off if I try and play it.
Yeah, I'm just letting the audience know they have a YouTube channel that isn't hard to find.
Yeah.
If we find something, if we find something worth reacting to, that could be another stream, I think.
Yeah. They've got the Bradford City football players joining in.
Oh God.
I wonder how much choice they were given in that.
It's probably part of the sponsorship. They're probably sponsoring the team.
Yeah.
Yes, this man looks like he really represents Bradford, doesn't he?
I know, right?
This is ridiculous. Look, trying to incorporate Black Lives Matter and this into this one Britain, one nation nonsense.
Yeah.
I just...
The
one thing I want you to take from this above all else is that this is not representative of Bradford. This is performative and this is frankly dangerous.
This is not.
They're royalists.
This is not. Let alone Bradford. This isn't representative of the country as a whole.
Yeah, but they're going to say that it's Bradford because Bradford has a reputation of being very diverse, and yet I feel like they've found every white child in Bradford has been on this at least once, because yeah.
I find it really contradictory.
Oh,
well, sorry.
Go on, sorry, Mia.
I find it really contradictory that they'll probably market it as Bradford multicultural, and then the entire idea of Great Britain One Nation is to eradicate any form of multiculturalism. We're all British, no matter where you're from. If you weren't born here, we don't care. We've taken you. You belong to us now. You're British. Deal with it.
Yeah. Now, can I ask where you're from, Mia? Because I didn't ask, but that accent.
This is going to find really funny. I'm from the same place as Sam, but I did go to high school in Yorkshire for 5 years, so I do pick up
on. That comes from, yeah. Okay, fair enough. So okay. Can I point out any organisation that was sad when that fucker popped his clogs is not an organisation that isn't at least tangentially racist. I'm going to say that outright. I don't care.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I know exactly what that guy was. Yeah. I'm looking. I can't see my old primary school on here. Because my old primary school was the pit, but it's not on here. But I don't want to go giving them ideas, so I'm not going to name it.
Fair. Though, in reality, it may be that your school was also not white enough.
Oh no, my school was white. I was the only dark-skinned kid in my entire school.
Oh no, that's right. Yes, I remember that we had that discussion at one point, didn't we?
Yeah. Then that's why it's not there. There's not the token black kid or the token Asian kid there for the pictures.
Yeah, because I've left. No, literally, my primary school was so white that a kid gave me a black eye in a fight, and the headmaster said it didn't matter because you couldn't see it against my skin colour. That's the level of whiteness we're talking about here.
Yes, it's only a problem if we can see it.
Yeah. But yeah, this is what we're looking at. Any musicians in the crowd want to play it? They're going to have all the kids on recorder with this, aren't they? They're going to have to get a recorder version.
Well, they are talking.
That's the only instrument we can all afford.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'll
tell you what. I've had a little look at their. I had a little look at their Facebook page, which does not look like it's been updated recently at all. But some of the responses to it were quite funny.
Oh, I'll bet
something very similar along the title of your stream.
Yeah.
Let's just say it was in German.
Yeah, I'm not going to share the screen for Facebook because it's got my real name and things on it. Although that's on my Twitter as well. So, but yeah, it's more of the same.
I feel like this organization could probably be summed up by saying, "I'm sorry we introduced you to these racist pricks, but you're welcome, I guess."
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing: there's a
video of Theresa May name dropping the founder of this thing in the Commons in 2018.
Right. Do you see who they could have been retweeted British Alba as well?
I need to show you something here. I need to show you something that I've just found on their Facebook page.
This is something I just want to just tell you this account that they retweeted British Alba, and it says this in their bio: Scotland is British, and we must never surrender our country to the separatists seeking to break up Britain. Proudly Scottish and British and anti-SNP.
That tells you everything, doesn't it? Look at this. They've got old Moggy.
Oh, Moggs.
Was that first guy's eyebrows drawn on by a teenager?
Look at, what do all these faces have in common? Is there anyone under
they're
the
all
age of
old.
40 involved in this shit who's like
They're all-
old enough to know what
They're
they're
all
doing?
Yeah.
I think that guy's face there says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to be
Age ranges 0 to 10, 50 plus.
Have you noticed these kids are keeping well away from Muggy there? And I'm going to... They look so done. Those kids look so done. Those poor kids. Do. Oh my gosh. This is just... I'm looking for faces that I recognise and...
do or do not some of these photo ops remind you of some of the shit college tried to pull?
I know, right? When they wouldn't let us into the dining hall for their photo opportunities of the A-star students who didn't get A-stars because we all got something.
None of us got A-stars.
This is so performative. Oh, look at that kid there. She's falling asleep. I just this one here. Look, these kids do not look pleased, do they?
They don't.
Okay, I see they retweeted a journalist from GB News as well. And they're retweeting GB News itself. I mean, that's just this right-wing bloody news group.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, some of the comment responses are brilliant. But yeah, this is interesting. This is quite obviously deliberately targeting children, and that is problematic.
I don't think it's right.
I would strongly recommend, because this is becoming a national thing, speak to your children, check what homework they're being set.
Oh,
and how they're being set on this, have a conversation with them.
I'm just I'm just laughing at some of the responses are hilarious. Someone responded here, my kids will note the names of any children and teachers not putting enough effort into the goose stepping for you. Where can I send the list?
Where can I send the list? Don't mention the war. It's very they're not even, it's very militaristic as well. Just look at this. It's that's mild. Is that my old secondary school's uniform? Looks like it might be. This is ridiculous. As someone born and raised in Bradford, to a mother who was born and raised in Bradford, to parents who came over as part of the Windrush generation, we disavow all knowledge of this person. This one's not ours. Leeds can have him.
I'm just waiting for the comments.
They bought a cake for Prince George. Really? That's what you're funding in Bradford. That's what you're funding. Where so many kids are living in poverty, but you bought a cake for Prince George.
Let them eat cake.
It's bread and circuses, isn't it?
I like this response as well. Someone wrote, hopefully they'll stand up to being bullied into promoting faux patriotism, and you'll realise that better school funding and feeding hungry children might bring about more approval of a country than a ridiculous song. The responses are awesome.
Can you see them actually doing anything productive here? Because all I'm seeing so far is photo ops and songs, but where have they actually done anything productive? Where have they gone into the schools and helped the kids who are on free school meals? Where have they helped parents buy school uniforms or given them books for their kids to read? Or
they just want them waving flags. That's all they're interested in.
Yeah, you've got the aggro there. You know, you can't. Most of these photo ops are taken outside buildings I don't go into because I'm too poor. If I went near some of these buildings, house prices would start going down. I'm curious about this. The meaning of Britishness, I found it.
Hey.
Last edited on the 5th of May. It will aim to bring the word Britishness to the Oxford Dictionary. Wow.
These guys really have nothing better to do with their time.
They don't, do they?
I mean, it's not hard. We got selfie in there.
I need people to be able to see the wording here because this is ridiculous. I thought their actual website was ridiculous, but this is ridiculous.
The ideal is based on a set of values, a spirit, a way of living, and a state of mind that is ultimately about shared values of tolerance, respect, fair play, a belief in freedom and democracy.
I need you to read this sentence out with a straight face, please, someone, because I can't.
Okay.
I'm on my phone.
Can you
So.
take it off highlight because I'm struggling to see it.
Sure.
It is about seeking to create a single culture that embraces and accommodates differences without overemphasizing and reinforcing them.
Oh, well done.
I just stopped masking. This is my resting face.
How many countries?
That's literally how I do anything with a straight face.
This entire thing, I strongly recommend to any parents out there, I'm not a parent, but I strongly recommend that you check what your child is being taught in school and if they're being involved in this, and make a serious decision and seriously consider whether you want your child involved in this. Because this is not even an idealized version of what Britain should be. This is pure nationalism wrapped up in a thin veneer of respectability.
Not to phrase it in too ridiculous of a way, but this feels like a BNP wet dream.
And the fact that it's run by a nation so they can pretend it's all okay.
It's a bit like how there was a Jewish trans woman who was fairly high up in like right-wing circles, who I was literally speaking to the other day, so I should remember the name of. But I don't.
Phoebe.
Yes, it was Phoebe. It was Phoebe.
Yeah,
wasn't
she's
it?
awesome. She's awesome.
She was literally told that she was the future of the BNP because she had all the right ideas, but she also had all the woke stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't it the EDL she used to be involved with before she.
Oh, it might have been
obviously,
EDL actually. Yeah,
I think it was the EDL she was involved with before she, came to her senses.
I also agree with what Sam hinted at, that I am very concerned about the fact that there's no reference to LGBT persons in that at all. There's no reference to unity over sexuality or gender. There's no reference to unity over any religion that's not monotheist. Yeah. There's no explicit reference to unity of social class, which is a massive thing in the UK.
It feels like race is the obvious one, but there's a bunch of other shit that it was like, I feel like it should go to mention this.
Do you know what it feels like? It feels like someone who understands American politics is trying to apply them to British politics. In America, race matters. In British politics, class is more important.
I was going to say race matters, but class is the bigger divide.
Yeah.
But this is what they're in a sense what they're trying to sort of say. Like, hey, we're all British. There is no class issue here.
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing they've been.
It feels like Bradford has been targeted by this for the same reason it was targeted by George Galloway. because there is a low level of education due to pervasive poverty across all races and ethnicities. And therefore, people are more open to pretty sounding ideals. I love this city to an extent, or I did. I love the idea of this city. This city is a pit. It's a hellhole. I wouldn't want to raise a child in this city. Let me put it that way. There's a reason I don't want a child, and a lot of it is I wouldn't want to raise a child in this city, amongst other things, but that is a big consideration. I'm very proud of the history of this city and the people who came here and built this city from the ground up, because they sure as fuck weren't white. You know, and some of the people in that who set that up are quite clearly first and second generation who've come over and made a life for themselves. And well done them, congratulations. You are the exception, not the rule. And you are the exception because you have pulled the ladder up behind yourselves. If it was so easy, Bradford would be thriving, and it's not. Everyone talks about, there's no money in Bradford. There is very little money going around the Bradford economy. Or there is, but it's all on the black market on drugs. There are people out there driving Maseratis and Beamers and Audis and Mercs. I can take you to a road now where I can show you a car park with 5 Mercs in it, 2 Audis, a couple of Range Rovers, probably a Maserati and everything else. I guarantee you none of that money has come from anywhere legitimate. Bradford is... There are people trying to make it better. There are. And they mean well, they really do. The problem is, for those of us who are not part of a very specific demographic, there is no hope in this city. Outright, categorically, I will say it. If you are white in this city, you don't have hope. If you are mixed race in this city, you don't have hope. There is a tiny demographic of second and third generation, usually Asian immigrants who've come through, and because their parents managed to make money and hit good, they're doing all right. I was told at 16, so 12, 13 years ago, I was told where I live, there are 3 career options when I went for careers advice. I was told you can either go to prison, you can join the dole queue, or you can go to the local Asda. I wasn't a boy, so the army wasn't an option. Those were the options I was given. I was a straight A student, and those were the options I was given. So everything I did is because I went and found out that information myself, because no one wanted to give me that information. This is the reputation Bradford has, and they are targeting Bradford deliberately. They are doing it on purpose, and I hate that they're doing it, because they are taking advantage of people who are desperate. The desperation in this city, the city reeks of it. And I hate to say that about my home city, because there used to be a time you could be proud of being from Bradford. I really did. Even with everything else, there was a community in this city, and there's just not. And I can see why people would look at something like that, being from Bradford, and say, great, we want to build a community. We want to get back to how Bradford used to be, where it didn't matter what race, colour, creed you were. You came and you got on and you worked hard, and everyone looked out for each other, and you could knock on anyone's door for a bag of sugar or to borrow an egg. The problem is that Bradford never existed. It's a pipe dream. But they are tapping into that false nostalgia. That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
and
the idea
Bradford is one of the most
about
poverty-stricken cities in the country, and I do not believe for a second that it's an accident that shit like this starts here. I really don't.
Oh no, your city was definitely targeted for a very specific reason. There's no two ways about it.
It makes me angry, because those of us on the inside who are actually trying to do something better are being undercut by this bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so I said it.
Because this is going to get the funding now. So when people go out and they need funding for schools and everything else, it's not going to be there, because all the taxpayers' money's gone on this bullshit. We've got roads that have had potholes for 5 or 8 years that haven't been fixed, but this bullshit's getting taxpayer money. And it reeks, and I don't like it. And honestly, it's a money grab. I genuinely believe that it's a money grab. I don't believe for a second that any of this comes from anywhere good. I don't believe for a second that some ex-cop, some fucking pig gives a flying monkey's toss about the rest of us in this city. I really don't. And that might be my ACAB showing, yeah, sure. Hands up to it. But do you know what? If he cared, he'd still be working as a cop in Manningham trying to sort shit out. He wouldn't be out meeting MPs and holding photo ops. He'd be on the beat doing a damn job. Because that's where we need it. We need people on the ground. We don't need this bullshit.
Yeah. Or at least trying to organise people on the ground. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah. And we have spent 2 hours, 40 minutes on this so far. And I honestly do not know what this organisation is doing productive.
I feel like we've looked
songs
through...
and making them wave flags.
We've looked through like 80% of their website. What's that going to do for the
poverty and the education level and the things that actually matter? Show me that you're educating these kids in how to cook simple, healthy meals so that they can actually go out and be good citizens and they're not driven to desperation by hunger. Show me that you're teaching these kids to respect other people's gender and sexuality and religion. Show me that you're connecting schools together, like Muslim schools and Christian schools, so they learn to get together. That's what we need to see. Not this. Where was any of that there? There's nothing productive being done here. It's a mouthpiece for someone who wants to make a quick buck of taxpayer money in an area where we can't afford it. And I am frankly offended that it exists.
Me's got a dip, hun.
Yeah, I'm going to finish off there, I think, because that's my rant, unless anyone else has got anything to add.
I don't know how any of us can follow it to that, to be honest.
Okay, I will give everyone their minute or so then. If anyone wants to shill, we'll start with Sam.
This evening we have another episode of Pub Religion airing. I forget what the topic is, but...
Yeah. Scummer?
I don't really have a lot coming up that I've got plans at the moment. So honestly, I do have a channel. So
fair enough, and you're all here, so you know I've got a channel. Thank you to everyone who's joined us in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's commented. I know we had a few people lurking for a while. Everyone who's joined me on the stream as well, Sam, Scummer, and Mia, who's just disappeared. Really appreciate it. I know it was last minute, but I needed to get this out there.
This kind of came about from me and Noodle complaining in DMs.
Yeah, it did. Literally, that's how it started. Just to everyone, really appreciate you showing up and giving me a time, even if you were in and out, anything. I get it. People have lives, but I do appreciate every one of you popping in. Please go and just do. If you take anything from this stream, if you want to be anti-racist, if you want to do something, go do something productive. Don't go take photographs with rich white people. That's how you help us on the ground. And with that, I think I'm going to go to taglines. Sam?
Have a day, and remember, communication is key, unlike these twats seem to think.
Scummer?
Don't have a tagline, but I'll just say, fuck one Britain, one nation.
And as always from me, take care, be good, and if you can't be good, do not support that fucking protest bill. Use your noodle.